I hadn't seen him in years. Not since I left for college and promised myself I'd never look back. But life has a funny way of forcing you to revisit places you thought you'd left behind, especially when the past refuses to stay buried. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 27 now, living in Chicago and working as an assistant editor at a small publishing house. Life had been a whirlwind lately, work deadlines, an apartment lease coming to an end, and a recent breakup that had taken more out of me than I wanted to admit. That's how it started, with a moment of weakness. I needed to get away, to breathe. And despite all the promises I made myself, there was only one place I could think of going. Back home to Texas. Back to the house I once ran away from. Back to my stepfather, David Langston. David had married my mom when I was 13. My real father had walked out long before then, so David quickly became the only man I ever saw as a father figure. He was strong, reliable, patient, everything my biological dad never was. He taught me how to change a tire, how to stand up for myself, how to trust people, and most importantly, how to forgive. When my mother passed away suddenly 5 years ago, I cut ties. I couldn't face that house without her. I never reached out. And David never pushed. But he was always there. Quietly. Steadily. A Christmas card every year. A birthday message. A short voicemail on New Year's Day. Always the same calm, comforting tone. Whenever you're ready, Emily, you know where I am. And now, 5 years later, I was standing in front of that same blue house on Maple Lane, suitcase in hand, heart pounding like I was 13 all over again. The door opened before I could even knock. Emily. David's voice was still deep and steady, though a little older, a little wearier. His eyes widened with surprise but softened almost instantly into a smile. You came back. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. He opened his arms, and before I knew it, I was crying in his embrace like I hadn't cried in years. The next few days felt like stepping back into a different life. David hadn't changed much. He still woke up at 6. Still made black coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Still read the paper instead of scrolling his phone. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine, just like when my mom used to bake during the holidays. He'd kept everything almost the same. Her pictures on the wall, her old baking tins, the floral curtains she picked out one spring afternoon years ago. You kept everything, I said one morning as we sat on the back porch. I didn't have a reason to change it, he said simply. This place was her heart. And yours too once. I looked away. I'm sorry I disappeared after she died. I couldn't handle it. You don't have to apologize, Em. Everyone grieves differently. That was always his way. Never judgmental, never demanding. Just patient. He let silence stretch when it needed to, and filled it with warmth when it got too heavy. I started to relax. Day by day, something inside me began to heal. We spent evenings watching movies, old classics he used to love. He even made his famous grilled cheese sandwiches, just the way I liked them. It wasn't long before I started helping him around the house, organizing the garage, cleaning out the attic, fixing that old leaky faucet in the bathroom. It felt natural again. One evening, we were cleaning out my mom's closet, something neither of us had dared to touch in 5 years. You sure you're up for this? He asked gently. I nodded. It's time. We found old scarves, some of her favorite dresses, and a jewelry box full of little trinkets. As I held up a locket with a photo of the 3 of us inside, I broke down again. David sat beside me on the bedroom floor, putting his arm around me. She loved you more than anything in the world, he whispered. I know, I said. But I forgot how it felt to be loved like that. To feel safe. You're always safe here, he said, squeezing my shoulder. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through the house quietly, ending up on the back porch. David was already there, sipping a drink. Couldn't sleep? He asked without turning around. I shook my head. Too many memories. He motioned for me to sit. Sometimes they help. Sometimes they hurt. But they all remind us we lived. I smiled faintly. You always know the right thing to say. He looked at me, his gaze steady. I don't know if it's the right thing. I just say what I feel. That honesty, that openness, made something stir inside me. Something warm, familiar, comforting. He'd always been a source of strength. A guide. A friend. We sat there in silence, listening to the crickets, the gentle wind rustling the trees. You taught me everything, I said quietly. Not just the practical stuff. You taught me how to love. How to trust. I never told you that. You didn't need to, he replied. I always knew. My time in Texas stretched from days to weeks. I worked remotely, helped David with house repairs, and slowly allowed myself to feel again. To grieve. To forgive. One afternoon, while painting the back fence together, I looked over at him. Sweat on his brow, sleeves rolled up, that same gentle smile, and I realized I had missed this version of myself. The grounded, open-hearted girl I used to be. I don't think I'm going back to Chicago, I said suddenly. David paused, then turned to me. You don't have to decide now. I'm not deciding. I'm realizing, I said. This feels more like home than anywhere else. He put his brush down and walked toward me. You've always had a home here, Emily. Always. For the first time in years, I felt truly at peace. I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't hiding. I was healing, and not just because I came back to an old house, but because I came back to someone who never gave up on me. David Langston, my stepfather, wasn't just the man who taught me how to drive, or how to plant tomatoes, or how to hammer a nail straight. He taught me how to be brave in the face of loss. How to show up for people even when they're pushing you away. How to love, quietly, deeply, unconditionally. And as I stood beside him, looking at our freshly painted fence and the golden light of the setting sun, I knew I had found my way back. Not just to a place. Not just to a person. But to myself. I went back to my stepfather, the one who taught me everything. And in doing so, I found everything I'd been missing.